As always, great to have you with us on Yankees Hot Stove here on YesNetwork.com. Bob Lorenz and Jack Curry, along with Chad Jennings and Bill Madden, as we talk about some of the latest free agent news. And finally, we're starting to see a thawing for some of the free agents. Jordan Zimmermann gets a 5-year, $110 million offer from the Tigers, and Chad, he says, I'm going to jump on that.
Yeah, he probably should have jumped on that. I mean, this guy wasn't coming off the best year and had a chance to go to a team that seems to have liked him and wanted him. And you know, look, that's a pretty good contract for a guy who had Tommy John not that long ago and just, you know, I mean, some of these other guys, David Price coming off a great year, Greinke coming off an incredibly good year, Cueto coming off of a year when he was obviously valued at the trade deadline as an ace. Those guys have reason to look for ace money. I'm not sure Zimmermann did have that reason.
I agree with you, Chad, and I liked a couple of things that he said at his press conference. He talked about how he was the Tigers' #1 choice. He wasn't second or third behind a Price or a Greinke, so that appealed to him. And he also said, listen, I knew what my value was, and 5 years, $110 million, that's a nice contract. That'll put him average annual value one of the top 10 highest paid starting pitchers in baseball. So I think he was smart to leap at this contract. As Chad said, this guy had elbow surgery, Tommy John in 2009. Who knows what the life is left in that arm? You get yourself a nice contract like this, a team that wanted you, and you get to pitch in a spacious ballpark.
And it's $22 million a year for what, Bill? A #1 on that team, a 2, a 3? Where does he fit in?
Well, it all depends on. Well, for one thing, it all depends on Anibal Sanchez because he has the stuff to be a #1 pitcher on anybody. He is yet to put it all together over a complete season. I think the Tigers are kind of hoping that he's going to be that guy this year and that Zimmermann can fit in nicely as a #2 or even a #3 behind Verlander. This was a contract that was in the Tigers' comfort zone. This is a team that had David Price, wanted nothing to do with that kind of a contract that David Price was going to require. So they get him for a 5-year contract. It's still a lot of money and still a lot of years, as contracts for pitchers like this are always risky. But this is a lot less risky than what the Tigers were prepared to do. And they also have the Verlander thing. I don't think they're real happy with the Verlander contract, even though he did come back somewhat for them last year.
Yeah, it's half the price of Verlander, half of what they would have had to pay Matt Scherzer, who went to the Nationals, and certainly half of what David Price is going to get. All right, meantime, while Zimmermann said yes, please, to that offer, Johnny Cueto has said no thank you, at least not yet, to the Diamondbacks offer of 6 years, $120 million, Jack. So he's got to think maybe there's a little something better out there, or he's playing poker.
Very interesting. If you are turning down 6 years, $120 million, that tells me that you and your agents know that there is something better out there. Because if you look at Cueto, yes, he's a very solid pitcher, but he's a guy who has some question marks of his own, both physically and the way he finished the season. He did not have a great finish to the season. So I think there's a buyer beware sticker on him, but for him to say no tells me he's still interested in shopping out there. I still think the Red Sox are going to be the team that leaps in and signs him.
I agree with Jack. I've always felt that the Red Sox were the team for Johnny Cueto, but only because I didn't think that they wanted to get into David Price territory. It sounds like Johnny Cueto's telling them, if you want me, you have to be in David Price territory. I'm a little surprised that he turned us down, and Jack may be right. He may know something that we don't know, but if he does, I cannot believe anybody is going to give Johnny Cueto a 7-year contract.
Well, the other thing is it's the Diamondbacks who turned it down. Are the Diamondbacks going to jump in on Greinke and Price at that level? Probably not. So if what they valued is getting a front-end starter and they think Cueto's that kind of guy, that offer might not be going anywhere. You know, I mean, it's not like there's another guy, unless they want to roll the dice a little more with a Leak or Samardzija or something. That offer to Cueto might stand, and he can go out now and sort of test the waters for a little while, see if somebody falls out of the Greinke-Price. You know, if they fall out of that, whatever you call it, when they're in that market, and then they fall to Cueto. But if that doesn't happen, he can probably always go back to the Diamondbacks. And if they want a high-end pitcher, he may be the only one they can get.
And I think Dave Stewart has already said that they'll keep the dialogue open. And you know the way that this stuff works. Everyone wants to outdo the other person. So to Bill's point about 7 years, and I think it's a solid point, how about this? We just talked about Zimmermann. He signed 5 for $110. Could you see somebody going 6 for $132 for Cueto? There's your $22 million a year, plus he got the extra year. Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're just trying to fatten up that average annual value a little bit.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Meantime, for all the latest news and rumors concerning the Yankees and the rest of Major League Baseball, tune into Yankees Hot Stove throughout the offseason. Just check YesNetwork.com for airtimes.